Some of you knew my papa as Papa Kahu, Kahu George, Uncle Kanoy, or his favorite nickname, Handsome George. But I knew him as Pops. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kalena Delima. I'm the oldest granddaughter of this great man, and I feel honored to be delivering his eulogy today, and very fortunate to have spent so much time by his side. Exactly 1 year ago, he was my hot date to the Naipo Hano Awards, where our family took home 4 of those prestigious awards. We were grateful to have been recognized that evening for those awards, but the biggest reward was having him there. I wish you could have seen the way his face glowed with pride as our names were announced. 1 year later, we lay him to rest. Wow, what a difference a year makes. So if you have loved ones, hold them close. If they drive you crazy, embrace it. And when they tell you the same stories over and over and over again, listen. Because I promise you, when they're gone, you're gonna wish you did. With my pops, he would repeat himself so much, I swear those stories are forever etched in our brains. And if you knew him, you knew he loved to repeat himself. And so today, I recite the story of my grandpa's life as he told it to me 10 million times. George Edward Kahu Naipo was born on May 7, 1936, to Robert Kahu Naipo Sr. and Eva Puluelo Mersberg. He was one of 9 children, with 4 brothers, Lopapa, Lolena, Kiava, and John, and 4 sisters, Puluelo, Pualani, Kiala, and Lena Ala. My grandpa grew up in Damien Tract, and he would tell us stories of his father, whose occupation was working part-time as a stevedore in Honolulu. I remember Pops telling me how poor he was growing up and hoping his dad would be called to work, because when he had work, they had food. On days he didn't have work, they wouldn't eat unless they caught fish. On days that weather permitted, Papa Robert Naipo would gather up their equipment and would instruct Pops to load 1 gallon of water and a tin can of crackers for their fishing trip. They would go out to sea and try their luck for dinner. Pops recalled never touching that gallon of water and that tin can of crackers, but his dad always told him it would come in handy if they ever ran into trouble. Well, one evening while out at sea, Papa Robert Naipo looked up at the sky and down at the changing tides and directed Pops to bring up all the fishing lines and get ready to head into shore. Only a young man at the time, Pops looked up at his dad and asked, "Why?" "Because," he said, "there's a storm coming. Bring up the lines and go to the bow of the boat and hide under the cover until I tell you to come out." Right as they finished pulling up the lines, a storm began rolling in, and Pop said he could feel the sea begin to change. The only thing he could see from his hiding spot at the front of the boat was his dad. They made it safely to shore that evening without any luck of dinner. Pops would also tell us stories of his mom and how she would send him out to school with instructions to drink a lot of water while there to help remedy his hunger pains. By the time he was a young adult, Pops began his side hustle as a shoe shiner, making 5 cents per customer. He had big dreams. He wanted to work up to a whole $10 so that he could buy himself a pair of pants and shoes for school. I remember him telling me the story of the day he proudly walked home with the remaining balance of nickels he needed to equal $10 from his long day of shoe shining. He would add it to the money he had hiding in a secret spot at home, and he would be able to purchase his brand new pants and shoes in the morning. He returned home only to find that his secret spot had been emptied earlier that day. He told me how he turned to his mom in tears and asked where all his hard-earned money had gone, and she apologized, saying she had to take it to buy groceries to feed their family. Now, I don't tell you these stories to make you sad. I tell you these stories because they shape the character of my incredible grandfather. These stories became the very core of his being and the reason he loved as hard and as deeply and in the ways he did. Shortly after graduating from Kaimaki High School, Pops enlisted in the Navy. The year was 1956 and he was 20 years young. He was given a job as a Navy cook apprentice and traveled all over the world with the Navy, but noted that being a Navy cook apprentice encouraged and inspired his love for cooking. At 24, he came home and met my beautiful grandmother, Charlene Ku'uipo Kama. He was issued an honorable discharge in 1961 on February 14th, was married by October 14th of that same year, and 1 month later, they welcomed the arrival of their firstborn son, Daniel E.K. Naipo, who is leading our services tonight. My grandparents had 3 more beautiful daughters after Uncle Dan, my mother, Charmaine Milani Delima, and aunties Danette Sonoy Pamantigan and Yvonne Puuipo Naipo Rate. My grandpa began working in Waikiki at all the main hotels as a chef and learned some of his top recipes from the German head chefs he worked under. He became one of the very best, and if you've tasted his food, you'd agree. Now, on top of being a full-time chef, Mama and Papa performed in Waikiki as the Naipo Serenaders at the old Hawaiian Region Hotel for over 20 years. They began performing there in 1977 and played for 4 hours, 6 nights a week, with their only day off being Sunday. I have fond memories watching my grandparents in beautiful red Carnation Bay performing sweet Hawaiian music there. Well, there was a woman who would come to watch my grandparents perform in Waikiki. Her name was Grandma Abigail Machado. She would sit in front of their stage, order 7-Up for Pops, and on their breaks, she would implore him to come to church. Pops recalls being so bothered by this lady that finally one day he gave in. He said, "Okay, Grandma, I will come to your church just once, but once I come, stop asking me to come." She agreed, saying, "Yes, just come once." And the next Sunday, Mama and Papa went to that church in Waikane. Needless to say, Papa never stopped going. He was ordained a Hope Kahu in that church called Kamono o Oliveta in 1986 by Kahu Tom Ling. And in 1991, my pops began the journey of starting his own ministry as the head Kahu of Ecclesia, the Foundation of Jesus Christ. He has served our church faithfully for 28 years. Now, I can say with certainty that at least half of the people in this room have heard my papa sing. At least 75% of you have been fed by him, and at least 90% of you have heard him speak about Jesus. This was my papa, and this is how he loved and lived. I don't know of a pastor or a man quite like the man I so fortunately called Pops. He was the head pastor of our church, but never acted like he was better than anyone else. He never looked down on anyone for living any differently than he lived, and loved everyone he met. The ways he would joke or talk about his greatest loves and happiest moments in life, the ways he would recall his days of alcoholism or the Mexican girls in California who tried to trap him into marriage, you wouldn't even know he was a pastor. And not because anything he ever said was unholy. It was because of the way he would level with everyone he spoke with. My papa never made you feel like he was any better than you, and he was always the first one there and the last one to leave. He taught us how to serve, not by instructing us to serve, but by serving better than anyone I know. He led by actions and by example. When my papa cooked for you, he cooked with love. He wrote out the entire menu on a composition tablet, shopped for every item at 6 different stores with his list of sales, coupons, and deals, which drove my dad, his personal chauffeur, insane. Times Supermarket for everything except kidney beans, that he would need to buy at Foodland because it was 10 cents cheaper. My dad swears to this day that he wasted $20 on gas so Pops could save 50 cents on sale But once he finished shopping and planning, he cooked an elaborate spread. Green salads, fruit salads, mac salad, raw fish, 4 starches, 3 meats, desserts, and drinks all included. He grew up in this world with close to nothing. So every Thanksgiving, when he would chef up a meal that could feed a small country, just for our family of 20. Every Christmas, when he would slave over a delicious and perfectly cooked prime rib. Every church rally, when he would head up our kitchen crew and direct them to assist in cooking the home-cooked meal he prepared for 300 people, only after he delivered the word of God. That was my papa, telling his family how much he loved them. That was him saying, "I came with nothing, so now I will give you everything I have." That was the quality of my papa, the quality of a man. Now my papa was what you'd call a mighty man of God. He was mighty because of his faith. The way he looked to Jesus was the same way he looked to his dad that day in the middle of the ocean, while in the midst of the storm rolling in after their day of fishing. He looked to his dad that day with faith, hope, and love, and knew that as long as he kept his eyes on his dad, he would be safe. And that's the same way he looked to Jesus every day thereafter and until the day he died. My papa's trust in the Lord never faltered. It didn't falter the day his wife of 53 years died of organ failure. It didn't falter the day he was diagnosed with stage 4 liver cancer. And it didn't falter when he asked his son, the now head Kahu of our church, to please stop praying for his healing while he laid in a hospital bed after being extubated and hooked up to 5 different machines for 2 weeks. The days leading up to my papa's passing, we didn't know it, but my papa knew where he wanted to be. He knew his healing would come. For us, we selfishly wanted his healing to come on this side of heaven. We had a Vegas-themed casino night planned for his birthday, which is coincidentally today. We had 2 Vegas trips planned this year and so much more to do with him, so many more memories we wanted to make, and so many more times to enjoy his company. But he had other plans. My papa knew who was waiting for him at the gates. I got to spend the last night of my papa's life at his bedside. It was a very intimate evening with my papa and one I'll never forget. I massaged his feet and rubbed his back in the area that was now giving him pain because of the spreading cancer. I sang him songs all evening and reassured him of how thankful we were for his examples of service, for the love he selflessly gave, and for instilling the same love and faith he had in Jesus in all of us. And I told him how very proud I was of him and how proud I am to be his granddaughter. In the morning, my sister arrived, and we spent all morning talking and singing to Pops and trying to make him as comfortable as possible. My sister Lilo was at his side, massaging his hands, when he shared with her that she was Papa's punahele, his favorite girl. And we both will never forget, well, I'm sure Lilo will never let me forget, how he mumbled those words to her, while I'm sure he began recalling the all-nighters my sister spent with him at his home in Kahu, learning how to baste turkey, thickened brown gravy made from scratch, adding the exact amount of ingredients needed to make the perfect seafood Newburg, Pop's famous bread pudding, tripe and beef stew, or what temperature to have the grill at to cook a flawless, medium-rare filet mignon. Yes, my sister has mastered all of Pop's best dishes. She is without a doubt his favorite girl, and we absolutely enjoy having those moments with them. Now, shortly after that, he recalled a dream he had 2 nights prior about my mama Charlene, his beautiful bride of 53 years. He told us through tears that she had come in a car to pick him up, but for some reason he couldn't get in. The sight of seeing his sweet honey in his dreams consumed his thoughts, and we knew where he wanted to be. 2 short hours later, I presume Mama made a U-turn and came back to try again. Pops took his last breath on earth, and he jumped in that car. Through tears and broken smiles, we celebrated Pop's graduation to the kingdom of heaven, and we bid him the fondest and warmest see you later, as we sat by his bedside, recalling every sweet memory we have of him. Like our trip to Israel, when he forgot where he placed his hotel room key and had all of Cairo Pentecostal Church pounding on the hotel room door, hoping my sleeping brother would wake and open the door to let him in. Or that time Pops took the grandkids to the park to play while he walked his doggy, and I, the evil ringleader, pushed an annoying boy into the fountain of water. Pops grabbed all of us and ran to the car because the boy's father was at the other end of the park practicing medieval sword fighting. I didn't know. Or the times he exemplified the true meaning of being a head pastor by racing to beat another person to the checkout line at Times Supermarket, only to be stopped by that person and asked if he's the Kahu who preaches on the Olelo channel. Or the time he and Mama were pulled over by a police officer because Pops wasn't wearing the seatbelt that he quickly fumbled to get on, and then tried to lie to that officer when questioned about it, only to be called out by Mama about that lie in that tone of voice that only she had. George, don't lie to the officer. About a month ago, my mom told us a story about a funeral she attended a while back. While there, a member of our church had a vision of the deceased with a Caucasian man standing above the casket. My mom said sometimes when the person loves their family so much, Jesus lets them have just one more glimpse. Although I know Pops loved us dearly, I'm here to tell you that my Papa will not be making a visit to see us today. He has shed his earthly shell and has joined my mama, and they're running on streets of gold through pastures of green, and they're making sure heaven is ready for all of us. My grandpa led an extraordinary life. He loved his family hard. He loved good food. He loved sweet music. He loved the poker machine at Fremont right next to Dunkin' Donuts. And he loved his God with all of his heart. And when he left this earth, he commissioned us with the daunting task of carrying forth his legacy. To be a leader who leads by serving. To teach with actions. To give all you have today, because tomorrow is never promised. To enjoy your life. To listen, to laugh, to love, and to live. So I pray you'll take these words and you'll go out into the world and you'll begin to look at things a little differently. I pray when your elders tell you the same stories over and over, instead of getting upset, I pray you'll listen. I pray you never stop coming to church expecting. And I pray and hope the story of my grandfather's life will resonate through yours. The last scripture my pop said to us was this: I have fought the good fight, I have finished the course, I have kept the faith. That's found in 2 Timothy 4:7. I pray you will always find comfort when the storms of life begin to roll in, and I pray you'll look to our Father in heaven the way my pops looked to his dad that day on the boat, and the way he looked to Jesus every moment after, filled with faith, hope, and love.